So, remember a few years back when Greenland was suddenly all over the news for a pretty wild reason? The President of the United States announced he wanted to buy it. And no, this wasn't some kind of joke. It was a real proposal that basically left everyone, well, stunned.
And the way it was said, wow. This quote from Donald Trump himself just sent these diplomatic shockwaves, especially for Denmark, which, Greenland is a part of. It came across less like a friendly real estate offer and way more like a demand.
Okay, so that's the real question we're going to dig into, isn't it? How did this huge, mostly frozen, and very sparsely populated island become the center of a new global power struggle? Let's break it down.
All right, the first part of the answer is all about military strategy. You see, for decades, military planners have looked at Greenland and seen one thing: a massive, unsinkable aircraft carrier parked in the most strategic location imaginable.
I mean, just look at a globe. Its location is everything. It's parked right on the shortest route from missiles or bombers flying between Russia and North America. That simple fact has shaped its entire modern history. It's why the U.S. built a critical early warning radar station there during the Cold War, a base that's still their northernmost military installation. And here's the thing, this American interest, it's not new, not at all. During World War II, the U.S. literally occupied Greenland to keep it out of Nazi hands. Then, right after the war, they secretly tried to buy it. By 1951, a treaty made the U.S. military presence official, and it's been there ever since. So the interest has been there for a long, long time. What's changed is the tone. And today, all that strategic importance zeroes in on this one spot, the GIU Gap. Think of it as a massive naval choke point. For NATO, it is absolutely essential for keeping an eye on Russian submarines trying to get from their Arctic bases out into the Atlantic. And Greenland, it's the giant western wall of that gap. And this quote just perfectly sums up how bizarre the whole situation has become. An expert on the Arctic points out that America, a NATO partner, is now seen as a bigger threat to Denmark's stability than Russia or China. I mean, it's a total flip of the old Cold War alliances. Okay, so we've got the military angle, but that's only half the story. The other part? It's the belief that Greenland is basically a giant treasure chest buried under all that ice.
And look, that's not me saying that. That's from a U.S. Senate committee hearing. The potential is just mind-boggling. We're talking precious metals, industrial rocks, and, maybe most importantly, the rare earth elements that are vital for all our tech. Geologists basically look at its coastline like a treasure map.
But here's where it gets complicated. With all that incredible potential, all that wealth just sitting there, how many mines are actually operating in Greenland right now? 2. That's it. Just 2. So what's going on? Well, the dream of a mineral gold rush runs straight into a wall of harsh reality. For one, a lot of those valuable rare earths are mixed in with radioactive materials like uranium. That's a huge environmental problem. Then you add in the brutal climate, some of the toughest terrain on the planet, and the fact that there are almost no roads or ports. It all means the cost of actually digging anything up is just astronomical. And this is where the story takes a really dark turn. There's a paradox here. The very climate crisis that threatens the world is seen by some as a golden opportunity. As Greenland's massive ice sheet melts, it's exposing more land that could be mined. It could even open up new Arctic shipping lanes. For some nations, a global catastrophe actually looks like a business plan. But in all this talk about military strategy and mineral rights, we're missing the most important voice in the room, the 57,000 people who actually call Greenland home. What do they want?
To really understand their situation, you have to start with this number. This is the amount of money Denmark sends to Greenland's government every single year. It's called a block grant. Now, 500 million is a huge number, so let's put it in perspective. It breaks down to about 10,000 euros for every single person living in Greenland every year. That's a massive subsidy that props up their entire economy. And this chart really drives that point home. That grant from Denmark makes up roughly half of Greenland's entire annual budget. Their biggest industry, fishing, only covers about a third. This economic dependence is right at the heart of their big political challenge. Because here's the thing, Greenland is on a journey. It was a Danish colony for centuries, but since World War II, it's been slowly gaining more and more control over its own affairs. Today, they have their own government, and this is the crucial part. They have the legal right to hold a referendum and declare total independence whenever they want. And that is their stated goal.
And that goal, that desire, is so deeply felt. This quote really captures the spirit you find all over the island. There's this powerful sense of who they are as a people and a powerful wish to be a fully independent nation. The huge question is, how do you do that when you depend on another country for half your budget? So you pull all these threads together. The military chess game, the dreams of buried treasure, and this powerful drive for national independence. And what you get is what people are now calling the new great game, a struggle for influence and resources in one of the most critical parts of the world. So what's in it for Denmark? Why hang on? Well, in a word, influence. Being tied to Greenland is what allows a relatively small country to punch above its weight and get a seat at the big kids' table. It gives them a voice in Arctic affairs alongside heavyweights like the US, Russia, and Canada. But if we zoom all the way out, what's happening here isn't just about Greenland. As this expert points out, it's a sign of a much bigger shift in the world. We might be watching the return of an old, dangerous idea. The world's great powers, America, Russia, and China, going back to carving up the globe into their own spheres of influence. Which brings us to our final and honestly pretty unsettling question. With all this talk about resources and military bases, we have to remember there are people at the center of this with their own dreams of independence. But in this new great game, with giants moving their pieces across the board, will the people of Greenland actually get to decide their own fate? Or will their future be decided for them?